Good afternoon, everybody. A big week for Norwich City starts here, and we are about 30 seconds away or so from learning Norwich City's team to face West Bromwich Albion. Thank you all very much for joining us. I'm glad to say it's cold, but it's not quite as cold as it was on Wednesday. So that's a positive, and hopefully we're all rewarded with a very decent game of football here. Norwich, of course, were heading into this weekend 2 points off the top six. Hull's win against Sunderland last night has extended that a little bit further, but an opportunity to make up some ground on West Brom today, who sit in fifth in the table. And we should have the team news here, and we do. This is how Norwich City line up. Gunn in goal, Stacey, Duffy, Gibson and Yanulis as the back four. Sarah, McLean, Rowe and Sainz the midfield, with Barnes and Sargent up front. So I'll just read that again. Gunn in goal, Stacey, Duffy, Gibson and Yanulis as the back four. Sarah and McLean as the midfield two. Rowe and Sainz on either flank, and Ashley Barnes behind Josh Sargent. The Norwich bench from Long, Fisher, McCallum, Gibbs, Fashnacht, Sorensen, Hernandez, Nunez and Adam Eder. I mean, Paddy, we were having a discussion before we came on air, actually, particularly around that defensive lineup. You probably felt he would go in this direction, and he has, which I guess, given how much he was talking about their strength from wide areas and just how much they like to cross the ball, probably not a massive surprise that he's gone with those two.
Not really, and I think there's knock-on elements, and for me it all stems back from, if you're going to go Barnes with Sargent, then that obviously then means Sarah in the centre of the park with McLean, and if you're going to go that route, then Duffy comes straight back in. It's just whether you go Gibson or McLean, and he's obviously opted to go that route. So pros and cons, I guess. I mean, Rowe and Sainz, good to see them, paired in tandem, and hopefully Sainz stays on the pitch longer than he did at the Hawthorns not all that many weeks ago, but it's not a huge surprise now that 11, if I'm on it. Well, I mean, Yanulis maybe. I didn't do the presser the other day, but, the sense that day was he was going to have a scan, wasn't he, later on, because he didn't play against Bristol. Had that groin issue, clearly not to the point where he's not going to be available straight back in. So, yeah, it's pretty much how I thought it would go. I mean, he likes Barnes and Sargent, and that's for the foreseeable how he's going to go. Me, personally, I'd like to see Gabby Zara retained in the 10. I just think it makes him a little bit more unpredictable. You're going to you inevitably do lose, whether you can debate it or not, but in my opinion, you do. Putting Zara deeper in that position he's going to occupy today. But I guess it's, weighing up the pros and cons, and maybe he feels Barnes and Sargent. The Barnes and Sargent in the first 8-9 games of the season, yep, they'll be a handful for any team. So that's clearly where his logic is at the moment. But, yeah. And the good thing is, having played West Brom so recently, you know what you're going to get today. And he's obviously looked at the Hawthorns game. They will want to dominate possession, and maybe McLean and Zara can disrupt him in that area of the pitch. Because if you don't get a grip in the centre of the park against this team, it's going to be a long afternoon.
Yeah, and on Gabriel Sara, I mean, you said there in terms of him playing slightly more advanced. I guess does Kenny McLean's inclusion, I guess, probably allows him to do that a little bit more, doesn't it? Because bringing him out of defence, we know when they're in possession, Kenny McLean is the kind of deeper lying one who wants to drop in and create that back three that David Wagner likes in possession. So there might well be, because of Kenny McLean being pushed back into central midfield, that may well free up Gabriel Sara, maybe not to go and be as advanced as he was on Wednesday night, but maybe certainly be more involved in attacking situations than he has been in recent weeks.
Yeah, so I'm just putting a few of the comments through. I think that was probably before the team news dropped. I mean, that's kind of where I'm. Yeah. Well, hopefully, after what he produced midweek, I know it was League One opposition, but he's just such a more potent threat the nearer he is to the opposition goal. Is he getting in that area of the pitch where he scored against Bristol the other day, which is, following in a shot, because his starting position is a lot higher. He had that freedom as well. He was pulling left-hand side a lot the other night, and I just think you're not extracting the maximum from a player who is, and the stats back it up, amongst the most creative in the whole championship, not just in the Norwich team, in the whole championship. That's the company he's in, and his numbers underline that. So surely you get him in the positions where he can inflict the maximum damage. But I understand there's a balance to be struck, and as I say, my fear is that he'll find himself chasing West Brom as they try and move the ball laterally and pick pockets and find holes in between Zara, McLean and Norwich's back four. And is that really the best use of him? Not for me. So I don't want to keep harping on about it, but to know he was always going to put Barnes back in because he clearly likes the Barnes-Sargent dynamic. He feels that maybe is the best he's got in the final third. But certainly, it's a big ask with Sargent because, he dipped him out midweek. He's still on his way back. You put in an emphasis on him to be the goal threat today because I don't think Barnes has really shown us enough in his career today in Norwich colours that he's going to carry that goal threat. So, I'm sure Sargent is ready to assume the mantle again, but I know it feels to me this is a crossroads type of day again, and we've had a few of them this season. You get a good performance today, you get a good result off the back of it, on we go. If it goes the other way again today and it's more frustration, these type of questions about why is Sarah being deployed so deep and what is Barnes offering alongside Sargent, we'll be back here again. So it's a real, as I say, potential signpost for how this season pans out, because ultimately if you turn over a West Brom who can go 10 points clear of you today in fifth in the table, then you can really realistically start to talk a bit more about, no, hang on, Norwich are in this conversation. Whether they're good enough over the entirety of what's left to get in the top six, plenty would say not, but at least they'll be justifiably part of the conversation. You get beat today, you're 10 points off. Realistically, there's one spot to play for, and a lot of other clubs will have a big say in that as well.
Yeah, agreed. I think if West Brom win here today and it does go 10 points, that feels quite insurmountable. I'm not sure that this Norwich side, with the flashes that we've seen, are good enough to create a full goal swing, really. Let's just bring you that West Brom team, if we can, which is there. Brilliant stuff. Palmer in goal, Furlong, Bartley, Kipray and Townsend at the back four, Yokosu and Mowat the midfield two. Jed Wallace, who was very good in the Boxing Day clash, as was Swift in the 10, with Reach behind Thomas Asante. Their subs bench from Griffiths, Daryl DK, Nathaniel Shalaba, Eric Peters, Andy Vyman, Pippa, Jovan Malcolm, Caleb Taylor and Harry Whitwell makes up their team this afternoon. And interestingly, for as much as we talk about Norwich City's form, their last two games on the road, they have lost both they've lost both 1-0, and they've failed to score in either of them. But equally, they've won their last two games, albeit one was against Aldershot in the Cup, and one against Outform Blackburn 4-1. So it's a team that has done very well at home and maybe not quite been as potent away from home. Sam McCallum, Paddy. I was impressed with him in midweek. I think he's in a nice rhythm at the moment of where he is in a Norwich City shirt. And it was it Boxing Day? It was Ipswich, wasn't it? His first start. But it was off the back of that. I thought he struggled actually on Boxing Day against West Brom and Wallace in particular, which is why I wonder whether he's been dropped out today. But can he consider himself unfortunate not to have started this game, given his form and performance in particular at Bristol Rovers on Wednesday night?
He is a frustrating player for me because there are periods when you look at him and think, athletically, he's got it all really to be a real good operator at this level. You could debate whether he's, could go any higher, but then when he does seem to get an opportunity, he never quite grasps it. And as you say, it was concerning at the Hawthorns how open and exposed he was, and it wasn't just him. I think he had, from memory, I think it was Science in front of him that day, and he wasn't offering him a lot going the other way and while he was on the pitch. So. And there are defensive questions around him, as there are around Yanulis, because I think we've all seen enough of Yanulis to know he's a far better fullback going that way than he is tracking back. I don't think there's really now too much between them. If you're looking at the body of work over this season, maybe the back end of last season, certainly since Wagner's been at the club, would you say, colours nailed to the mast, Yanulis is the better left back out of the two on the evidence of the 12 months that Wagner's been in charge? Not for me. So, I thought he was decent midweek, but maybe that is, as you say, Connor, what's in David's mind is that he did look a little bit suspect and a little bit vulnerable at the Hawthorns, and if that is the case, then maybe he thinks Yanulis is a better option today. But how much you can really read into that game, given Norwich played for an hour with 10, and we know what David did at half-time. He goes Hanley, he goes Bart, and it was a kind of, whatever the formation was, 9-0 kind of outfield players. So I don't think we can really place too much store by what unfolded at the Hawthorns that day once Signs got himself sent off. But let's be honest, for the first 28, 29 minutes, Norwich were on the back foot in that game as well.
Second best,
they were, and decidedly so as well. So, massively important today is the midfield area. They are, under Corberan, very keen to, a lot of this talk at the minute is around possession and Norwich's inability to get enough of it to really control a game. Even David now is openly admitting that that's almost now, if you sort of take the point that they've tightened up a little bit defensively, certainly from where they were. That is now the next phase of this season for him as the head coach of this team. Can they get better, braver, taking the ball in tight areas and trusting themselves and backing their ability? And as he says, they did it at the start of the season. Why can't they do it now? But if they don't do that today, then it is going to be a very long afternoon.
Yeah, we'll come to score predictions in a moment. Of course, feel free to send yours in, and we'll flash them up on the screen as Paddy's answering. But in terms of approach, because there's been a lot made about how Norwich City have approached games as of late. There was a big debate because we had it after the whole game in terms of performance versus result. How do you see him setting up and approaching this game against the team in the playoff places? Before Hull obviously moved in there last night, and it was Coventry in there. Norwich hadn't beaten any of the top 6 so far this season. So they haven't beaten any of the top 5 this season. We could reframe that. Do you think it will be more of the same in terms of defence first and very transitional? Do you think he wants to be a bit more controlling with possession? How do you see him approaching this game today?
Oh yeah, he definitely wants a better share of the ball than they've had for the last 4 or 5 championship games. But to do that, they're going to have to sort of nullify one of the strengths of this West Brom team and the Corberan. That they clearly are very good in midfield areas, particularly. But I think it's about 20 possession West Brom today. It's probably unrealistic, but I think what it is that it's defensively they have to be very strong. I mean, what I would say is, I'm looking at their last 2 games. They've scored 8 goals. One of those was an FA Cup tie. But I don't look down their attacking players and think they really have a potent edge to them.
Thomas, famous last words.
Well, might come back. But Thomas Asante, good a player though he is, he's stepped up from League 2. So, I don't look at them in the way I'd look at a Southampton potentially or a Leicester. So, if they have a lot more of the ball, that's not necessarily the issue for me. It's just in transition, can Norwich be very sharp, very precise, very mobile? And again, the emphasis on that will be McLean and Zara. If they can at least get parity in the middle of that park up against West Brom, then I think Norwich will get their moments. And when you've got Sainz and you've got Rowe on the pitch and Sargent as well, then, yeah, Norwich have players who going the other way can trouble this West Brom backline. But, the fear is that they won't see enough of the ball and then you're getting increasingly...
as well,
they are, but you're getting increasingly pinned then. And, I think for the well-being of this home crowd, they want to come and see their team actually, go on the front foot, be aggressive in their faces and take the game to them because they're not seeing that in recent times at Carrow Road.
Yeah, absolutely. Paddy, we got it absolutely bang on in the week. Okay. So, you can lump on and just accept whatever we're going to say as fact, really. How do you see this game going today? What's the score going to be for you?
I think you might have a draw written over it today. I think 1-1.
We need to stop copying each other. I was going to go 1-1 as well. I'm going to have to go something different. I might go 2-2 then and be a bit more adventurous and go completely against what all of the statistics say in terms of West Brom's defensive record. So there we go. Pinkin.com, of course, the place to go for all of the analysis, reaction to this game. You can join me on the Pinkin Plus app for live updates and on the old live blog. It'd be fantastic to see you over there. You can find out more details about subscribing to that over at pinkin.com if you're interested. And I think that does us nicely. Thank you all very much for watching. Fingers crossed Norwich City can kickstart a big week with a victory. Actually, before we go, Paddy, so 2 games, West Brom Leeds and an FA Cup game. Just very quickly, points and cup. Are they going to progress in the cup?
No. No. I won't say what I think the score's going to be, but no. And
well, you've done 1 here, so maybe 1 point from those 2. Is that what you're going to go for?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know who Leeds have got today, but at home they're particularly strong, aren't they? So
unbeaten. Yeah.
Are they unbeaten under Parker? Right. Okay. So one point and a cup exit. It's going to be a great week, Connor.
Let's hope that's not right. Thanks for watching. See you soon.